My great friend Silvio has been working with us on that project since the early days of the Miami Beta City project. Silvio is an entrepreneur, technologist. Is right?
Yeah.
You're right, okay. You operate at the intersection of finance, technology, and sustainability. You are the founder of Logos Capital. You spent many years in finance. You're also working with the city of Miami at the economic development. You're a big part of this project. So Silvio is going to moderate the next panel, which I'm also a part on for Magma. Welcome, Silvio.
All right, thank you. Amazing, right? So it's been a long journey. I'm going to give some introductions. Thank you so much for that introduction. And some of you might know my background in investment banking, or really a passion for impact investing. So the reason I care about data and why I'm actually going out of our way to connect the data is because I think we can unlock new insights to help us save Miami. I think this is really like my personal goal. As Melissa said, sort of frustration and passion coming together. So, forget about the investment banking and how do we really drive to implement real solutions. To implement this is really systems change. Systems change is no small feat. You need all kinds of players, from policy to academia to finance and law, technology, implementation, operation. And I think our panel kind of together with me really represent this. So we'll start with ladies first. Sharon Chen launched her career in investment banking at Citigroup. Round of applause for Sharon, please. Actually, that's where I started my banking career, was at Citi. I got recruited out of high school at 18.
That's right.
At Citi. And then she's was 8 years of private equity, including 3 years leading Brookfield, which is a massive private equity group, if you guys don't know, in initiatives in real estate investments and asset management. And now she heads the go-to-market for North America at Aquila 3D, one of the key partners and beautiful platform in digital twin creation. She's dedicated to leveraging next-gen technology to enhance operational efficiencies and promote sustainability in the built environment. Thanks for being here, Susan. Sharon came down from New York for today's event, and it's kind of nice to see like briefcases and suitcases and stuff here in the front for everybody. Matthew, another trailblazer here in Miami and visionary, really exemplifies that word. Is an impact entrepreneur with expertise in finance and 15 years in real estate development. Matthew spearheaded the Miami Beta City Smart City project with Cooper, which you guys got a chance to see. He's usually in the background working his magic, and earning the keys to the county in 2018. Was a co-chair of the Innovation Committee for the Miami-Dade Beacon Council, and is also the founder of the Florida Blockchain Foundation and chair of the Blockchain and Traceability Commission at the Smart Buildings Alliance, where we did a lot of work. And what's not here, Matthew's inspiration for doing this work. And Matthew's inspiration is leaving a better future for his kids. So Matthew, thank you for leading by example in everything you do in your life. It's great to have you and to be sort of coming back full circle and everything. Can we get a round of applause for Matt, please? Phil's a new friend. We got a chance to meet recently, thanks to the partnership with Aquila. Pretty impressive, and there's not a lot of people that can talk more about more things and more quickly than Philip, especially when it comes to competing with Matt and I. But I think, Phil, you give us a run for our money. And you're a proven C-level executive, 25 years of experience. We're involved in Boston Consultant Group's advisory board, the BCG think tank. What's not here is you help them actually think about not just consulting, but implementation, which is really a big part of this conversation. It's not about how do we consult, how do we sell you software, but really what I care a lot about is where do we help the rubber meet the road? How do we get implementation? How do we get things done? And you really come to the table with enough theory and operational experience especially. You're an expert in AI, metaverse, cyber, BPO. We're a senior advisor for the NEOM project, a sort of massive futuristic project out of the Middle East. Even got asked to be COO and lead that. It's great to have you here, Phil. Can we give a round of applause for Phil? And last and certainly not least is Jorge Quiroz. Jorge, like every good engineer and pioneer here on this, is really focused on BIM modeling, building information modeling. Has anybody heard of BIM before? Round of applause, not a lot of people. So this is a very important term. If we, let's put an asterisk on it. Building information models. is something that I know Matt with News Labs has been championing for a long time. And as Matt would say, it's not the future, it's already happening today. So Jorge is his firm's PDM Consulting. He's helping private companies and public agencies, including airports, adopt new tech to transition from traditional project delivery into digital process by adopting BIM for the entire project lifecycle. He's currently leading the BIM strategy for several airports, including Miami International Airport, which is undergoing a $9 billion renovation project. So Jorge and I got a chance to meet, thanks to our friends, Maurice Jenkins and Maurice's innovation team at Miami International Airport, also very big champions of the MDRES25. So they made introduction to Jorge. Jorge's been working on building incredible work, and you're going to give us some great insights. It's really honored to have you here, Jorge. Thank you for joining us. A round of applause for Jorge. Anybody that's flying into Miami, you guys should thank that guy. He's making your life a lot easier, okay? All right, so without further ado, guys, let's jump straight into it. I know there's a lot to say. What is a digital twin, right? It means different things to different people. Maybe you guys can chime in a little bit on that. Sharon, would you mind taking the first crack at that?
Absolutely, and thank you, Silvio and Matthew, for the hard work on this event. It's great to see so many people come out to learn more about digital twins. I'm going to start with a little bit of a brief history about digital twin. Like Silvio said, there are many definitions and understandings of what a digital twin is. And actually, digital twin technology started, believe it or not, with NASA. So it's great to be in a planetarium, being reminded of some of the great things that our guys at NASA are doing. And if you can imagine, they built a digital twin to help when astronauts were abroad to troubleshoot and find solutions more quickly with a digital twin. And then this technology then got adapted to other types of applications. So aerospace and defense was one of them. You have automotive and manufacturing. Big players are Dassault Systems, which are actually one of our investors. We leverage their technology for the built environment. And so what you're seeing in this evolution of digital twin technology is it's now being applied to the built environment. And so that's what's really great. You have a little bit of visualization of Aquila's platform.
Happening right overhead.
Right overhead.
Yeah.
I can see it on this screen, but I'm sure it's much cooler up on the 360 screen. And what we're doing with digital twin technology is not just a 3D building model that can be used for architectural construction purposes, but bringing it into an operational tool where you're adding all of your equipment to it so that you can track the energy and different types of functions and data coming in from your building. And so with this base, we leverage AI technology to optimize it. And so even though Aquila is a new name in the US market, it's actually existing in all parts of the world with over 500 million square feet that have utilized Aquila software and have provided close to 22% on average of energy efficiency. So happy to be here. Thanks a lot. Hopefully that helps.
Absolutely. And maybe, Jorge, you can give us, your definition of a digital twin. I know that we heard Aquila's perspective, which is very much focused on the real estate side. They're also doing different port terminals, trains, things like that. Could you share your perspective of how you define a digital twin, or how you think others should define
First of all, thanks, Sylvia and Matt, for the invitation. We met at Miami Airport a few weeks ago. I will take a step back, I guess, rather than explaining what a digital twin is, which I will do in a second. I will take a step back and talk about BIM. For the few of you that might not know what BIM is, it stands for Building Information Modeling. If you compare a BIM model with the traditional way in which we develop our projects, usually we develop our projects on a 2D layout or AutoCAD, okay? Where lines represent stuff. Two parallel lines, 8 inches apart, represent a wall, okay? Or a window, or whatever the case might be. A BIM model is actually an intelligent three-dimensional model. It's a 3D database where walls are different from windows, are different from pipes, are different from columns, are different from slabs. Each of these elements or objects understand each other, and they do have a lot of data, lots of data. So that is the input of a digital twin. That door, that window, that mechanical equipment, that pipe, that HVAC duct, that diffuser is actually the input for a digital twin. Okay, so now with that being said, what is a digital twin? Digital twin, and I will complement what Sharon mentioned, it's that intelligent model that is actually, again, another step back. It's a combination of models. It's an architectural model, a mechanical model, an electrical model, a fire protection model, a camera CCTV model, bunch of different models combined into this master model that can be massive, that is part of this digital twin. So the key of the digital twin is the data, is that information embedded within that model that can and should be used throughout the life cycle of the project in operation and maintenance. And I can be talking the entire day, so feel free to stop me. And I will end with this. The life cycle of the project, okay, on a typical project, 5% is spent within design, 15% is spent within construction, and 80% is spent in operation and maintenance. So for an owner, really what is important is what happened in the operation and maintenance side, okay? When I said a life cycle of the project, then when you build a facility, it lasts for the next 50 years. So 80% of the money is in operation and maintenance. That is why these three-dimensional models, these digital twins are so important. I will stop there.
I think that's really great, Phil.
Yeah, so maybe I can add a summary to that. So
Into the mic, please.
to
Yeah,
put it in English,
a little closer.
a digital twin. A digital twin is just a digital representation of the physical building, just to keep it really, really simple. And then you must say, well, how does that make a difference? All we do is put scanners and sensors on the HVACs, the water, the gas, the air, the security, and it feeds that dynamic model. So the dynamic digital twin is a representation of what's happened actually in the building. So that's the simplest way to understand it. Just like you have a meter outside your house that continually updates. That's essentially what the digital twin is. And you can run building from the digital twin as a result of it being so dynamic. So I think it's important to put all of this into perspective. Right now we're in a Web 2 environment, 2D. We're moving towards a Web 3 environment. Now people talk about Web 3 from a decentralized standpoint and blockchain, but we talk about it from a 3D standpoint, which is the digital twin. So just so everybody has a perspective of this, right now the digital economy is around $20 trillion. Half of that will migrate to Web 3 by 2030. So what does that mean for real estate owners, real estate operators? Everybody who's investing in Web 2 technology right now is throwing their money away. I'm just saying that you might as well just open your window and just throw it right out. Because the way the future is that buildings will be run digitally, operated and maintained, and they'll be built digitally. I believe in what we call a digital first approach, which is basically you build it digitally before you build it physically. That's how BMW builds their plans. They actually model it. They put the robots in there. They train the robots in the digital model. They run simulations on the equipment and the plant. And then they build it. And then the airport, which you're talking about, you can basically create a digital twin of the entire airport. And you can run simulations on flights come in, flights come there. You can run simulations on emergencies, how fast they'll get the fire truck there, basically gas people up. So you can run all these simulations. You can't do that in a Web 2 environment. What also you can't do in a Web 2 environment, which is very important for everybody to understand here, is Web 3 is the foundation for AI. So I have all these clients out there always asking me, how do I get started with AI? How can I leverage AI? The simplest way you do it is create a digital twin of your asset, the building. Once you actually create a digital twin of the building, you actually can operate and run it. And guess what happens? Right now, the rage is a smart building. Smart building is yesterday. It's like basically horse and buggy. The future is cognitive building. So you must say this guy has all these fancy terms. What is cognitive? Cognitive is like an autonomous car. It basically learns the patterns of the people, since it's all real time, collecting from the dynamic digital twin, and it improves things. So if you're a building owner or an operator and you're using Web 2 or you're investing in Web 2, you're throwing your money away. If you really want to make exponential gains, you want to move to a digital twin to operate the building, and then you'll get savings up to 50%. And then you can leverage AI, and guess what else happens? It continually improves because it learns what's happening in the building. You can actually see it real time in the digital model, and you can optimize it by updating the model. And also it learns, just like your car learns, it tells the car learns, and eventually the building becomes self-driving. What does that mean? Energy costs go down, people costs come down. So like at this summit that we've been talking here, like you can tell I'm one of the few guys with a suit on, the key is how do we make money over here? Like I'm a bottom line guy. How do we bring this from the entrepreneur, startup stuff conversation to the C-suite? So I actually introduced Aquila to Deloitte. Deloitte Center, Deloitte 2 Center in Nashville, Tennessee. We put it on Aquila. It's basically one of the first buildings in the U.S. that are a cognitive building, which means that it's going to begin to learn and get better and better and better. So any asset you have out there and you tell me you're smart, I met with this really smart guy from Bloomberg. Bloomberg invests in all sustainability. He thinks he knows everything. He says, Phil, why are you meeting with me? We have the best systems. And I said, are you running your building on a digital twin? And he was like, what's a digital twin? I said, then you're not running your building on the best thing. You need to have a digital twin because that's the only way you can leverage AI. So very, very important for future investments. The only way to do it is to move to Web 3. We're moving from Web 2 to Web 3. Imagine investing now on Web 1. You're wasting your money. Nobody does that anymore. They invest in Web 2. What I'm telling you is the future is Web 3. By 2030, half of the economy will be on Web 3. And you want to know why? Because it's the best platform to drive AI. And AI is the future.
All right. Thank you. That's super complete, Phil. Can we give him a round of applause for that? That's great. You didn't hear it from me. This is great. I'm sure you guys are very relieved and very complete. I mean, if you ask, this is one of these things where if you ask 10 different people, you might get 10 different responses. And the reason for that is because each stakeholder needs different data, right? The architect needs a different data, the operator needs different data, the planning team needs different data. So, you've heard different use cases here. So what problems can these digital twins solve? What data do we need to solve those problems? Maybe this is something to think through.
In terms of solve, and just so you know, actually setting up the digital twin and making it operational
A little closer, Phil.
is not that difficult, believe it or not. So this is for the airport gentleman over there. So essentially, when we did the Deloitte building, we did 2 or 3 days for a site survey, where we tagged all the HVAC equipment, the gas, the air, the security, and everything. Then we ordered the equipment. What took long was the cybersecurity review. So basically, doing the site review and ordering equipment was like 2 weeks. And then to install it, another 4 weeks. So it doesn't take long to do it, actually. All you do is put the sensors on it. The key is, this is the most important point I can make. You should be investing in Web3 and digital twins. That's the future. I think it just came out the other day about all the airports, how they use this whole radar, and Musk's was saying like, this 3D's been out forever. All the airports are going to move to 3D. You know why? Because that's the best thing on the market, and you should be investing in the future. I meet with all these building owners and say, Phil, we don't have a lot of money. I said, but you're spending money on Web 2. You're updating your building. You should be putting the foundation in to drive AI, because the future, I'm telling you, is AI. I'm on TV all the time talking about this. All the federal government, just so you know, they own 300,000 buildings, the federal government. And I spoke to the head of HUD and the head of AI for HUD. And basically, he's like, first of all, tracking, like this gentleman mentioned, you can track your inventory, and then actually you can package it and sell it. Imagine that, packaging and selling as a digital thing to somebody else. And then also you see all those shows where they remodel the building. What you have is a digital twin. You can do all the remodeling. And then also, this is another thing I tell people. Say you have an HVAC and you have a portfolio. This is really good for when you have a large amount of buildings. And you want to change your HVAC. Guess what you can do? You can, the digital HVACs, there's 90% of them are digital. You can actually put it in there and test which one is better before you buy it. So the amount of benefits that a digital twin does as a foundation, it's the future. Anybody who's spending money on Web 2, you're just throwing your money away. I think there was a study that came out, me and Sharon wrote an article for the World Economic Forum. Smart cities are yesterday. Smart buildings are yesterday. The future is cognitive. Right now, in terms of the US, I think what was the first building that became a cognitive building? But just so you know, Sharon's very modest. They have around 70 clients and 39 IKEA furniture box stores in China. The US is last. I'm just letting you know this. Why people were surprised weeks ago when DeepSeek, came out with their thing. The US, remember anything from today, the US is last. In China, they adopt more. When you adopt more, you learn and get better. Their airports are moving to digital twins, or their buildings are moving to digital twins because they want to be cognitive. You want to know why? You can cut your energy costs up to 50%. Once you have that foundation, you can run simulations of evacuations, emergencies, weather events. We have NVIDIA coming here this afternoon to meet with me and Sharon. We should actually join that meeting.
It's just a natural evolution of business. That's going, everything, as you know, is going digital. The first iteration of an idea is to draw something, right? It started with a drawing, then the blueprint, and then we make a little model in plastic. But this little model in plastic is not very expandable. You cannot exploit it with data. You cannot really do much things with it. But now with the computerization, you can build this digital model with the computer. It becomes much more efficient, and then you can compute that data, and that's where really the value lies. Because we all talk about AI environments, but for AI you need the data. Where is the data? And so that's the way to build those models, is to have first a digital replica, which is the digital twin. That's where it starts.
Think about this, and I want to complement what you just said. Preventive maintenance, in which your mechanical equipment talks to you, sends you through AI an email saying the pressure of this valve or the flow of air actually is not where it's supposed to be, shoots you an email and tells you what to do in order to fix it. So that is part of what this digital twin concept is all about.
One very important thing about the data is it has to be put up to date. Because when you see a digital twin, it can be a rendering. Someone can move things in the digital twin. You won't know if it's real in the real life. So what we did with Magma is that we built a mechanism to validate the data inside the digital twin and to incentivize people to keep the model up to date. That means when someone changes something in the real building, we ask them, okay, now you update the model and you get rewarded for it. That's where data becomes an asset, and that's where you become rewarded for modifying the model. So the data come from different sources. You have your architect, you have your general contractor, you have your service providers, the electrician, the plumber. Everyone is doing something in the building, right? But when they do something, we want them to update the model. And if we start to have this culture of keeping those models up to date, we will be able to use them as collateral to finance the building, to fractionalize the ownership. So what we did, we created this platform, and we tried to do it as simple as possible to abstract all the complexity of Web3 and to be able in a few clicks to create a wallet for the stakeholders. Service providers create their wallet, the building has a wallet, and now the building is programmed to pay incentives when you put data into it. So let's say you want to change that window, you measure the window, you ask for a service provider to change the window. You're going to say, okay, I change the door, you change the door, and you're going to input in the model what you changed. Someone is going to receive a notification to validate the change. Once the change is validated, everyone receives a reward. And now the data that is in the model is computable. That means it has been validated. You can trust it, you can make a contract out of it. So we try to make a simple tool for any building to plug that in, get incentives to update the model, and that piece of software, you will sell it to the next buyer that will then have a full traceability of everything that happened in the building. So it becomes a valuable asset that you can sell. And see, this is where we think we're really gonna bridge digital assets, Web3, and digital twins to create value for everyone.
Yeah,
That's it.
and this is, I think, to Jorge, please.
To confuse you even more, there's multiple digital twins. There might be a digital twin that only serves the purpose of design, and that's it, and after that it dies. There might be another digital twin for construction that serves the purpose of construction, quantity takeoffs, clash detection, etc. And then it might die again. The one that we're talking about is the one that will live for a long time, the digital twin that is worth it from the owner's perspective, the one that is going to be operated and maintained. So.
Yeah, that was actually a great segue, and I don't mean to take the mic from Sylvia, who's probably trying to get this panel back on track. But to go back to what Jorge was saying, many times, especially if you're in the realm of construction, any kind of architectural digital twin of the past, so what Phil was mentioning, Web 2.0, gets thrown away after construction. And it's something that someone tries to find whenever they need to renovate. But what we're talking about is the future of Web 3.0. This digital twin lives during operations, and it makes your building more efficient because you're leveraging AI. And how do you do that? It's really because you have the database of data from electricity, water, gas, carbon, and then once you have the data, you can also use that data to simulate for where you'd like your building to be in the future. So this is the model that kind of lives past construction all the way through operations, and then really becomes a tool to the building owners because it's it's on the track to cognitive building, where now you're utilizing the data rather than if the water goes out, you call the plumber, or the lights go out, you call the electrician. Now you can see the data and understand what's going on.
So to summarize, the most important part is to leverage a digital twin as a foundation to build your AI. That's the most important thing. Now, you should be aware that digital twins have been used extensively in design and construction already. They do that. But where it hasn't been used as much is in operations and maintenance. So if there's any building managers in this audience, what I'm basically saying is you can run your whole building off your phone. Imagine how important that would have been during COVID. And imagine if you have a portfolio of buildings. So one of the biggest benefits from Aquila for their IKEA stores, their IKEA furniture stores, the 39 of them, is they all had different BMS systems, they all had different reporting systems. Corporate used to get 39 different reports. Once you actually put the IKEA system in at the top level, you have one report across all of them, real time within 15 seconds on knowing exactly what's going on in the building from the heat, electricity, water, gas, air, security. So you can see it, but also there's other practical purposes. I think one of the most important things is to talk about the practicality. And I've worked with airports, so they use this example. A lot of people land, and they have to get to a gate. When you actually have a digital twin of the building, it's like a Google Earth. When you land, it hits you on your thing, it will walk you right to the thing and tell you how far it is from where you have to go. Also, people have been in very large places, hotels, because I sell a lot to hotels, casinos, and you're like, where the heck do I go?
Right.
And you're in the airport, you have to look on that thing.
And that's maybe, yeah,
You
we
have the
could,
digital twin, you can actually see where you are, you can see
Right.
everything around it. And to give you another example, this is how things are going to become, they're going to explode, just so you know. So right now in this audience, there's nobody from Big Four firms, PwC, Deloitte, Accenture, there's nobody from BCG, Bain, Oliver Wyman, none of the big firms are here because they don't even understand it, is the point. But my point is, half of the internet is going to be moving to digital twin and AI by 2030. So you guys, you got to take that message to building owners and people in that realm. Because this is the future.
right, no, Phil's absolutely right. And I wanted to just, maybe Jorge, you could talk about how is the airport using the digital model? You know, how are you having your meetings? I know that it's being used to meet with Mayor Cava and meet with the internal team and the GIS team and the maintenance team. Could you shed a little bit of light on that?
Sure. So we took a little bit of a different approach, I guess. So our role as the owner's rep is to make sure, so this is a $9 billion with a big capital improvement program. They're gonna pretty much redo the entire airport in operations. So our responsibility as the owner rep is make sure that every design consultant and contractor actually develops a BIM model with certain standards. So a while ago, we developed these BIM contract language standards that includes workflows, processes, procedures, best practices to ensure that when these models are ready after construction, we can plug them into an asset management system, which in the case of Miami, they haven't decided which one is gonna be yet. But regardless, if they do it a year from now, 10 years from now, what we are doing is we are making sure that we are gathering all this data consistently to plug it into an asset management system. So our role now is ensuring that process throughout the CIP.
So then you want to take it to the next level. Like, you want to leverage, since you already have the BIM models in place and you have lots of security cameras, it's going to be very easy to get to step 3.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
Which is basically, you could become operational and maintenance of the entire airport.
on day one.
Yep. That's the next step, and then make it the world's first cognitive airport.
Right.
Let's go.
That's a
Let's
challenge.
go.
Challenge. Let's go. And that's really what we're doing. I mean, I think here with.
It was funny because, and I usually,
Yeah.
when I present about this, imagine building a $9 billion capital improvement program in Miami, which it's gonna end up most probably being a little more, in AutoCAD 2D. That was the vision, or that was what's going to happen 5 or 6 years ago when they called us. So we did have a little bit of experience with airports like LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark redevelopment programs. I was involved in my old days in New York. So they were like, how do I do this in CAD? And we were like, you're not doing this in CAD because that doesn't make sense. You just mentioned this 2 minutes ago. I mean, CAD is the past. BIM is actually kind of the past already. I mean, everybody's using BIM now. So we kind of help them do that transition, and we're still struggling a little bit. I will say this is a huge agency, but we're moving this whole thing into the right direction, I guess, for guys like you to benefit from that data and move it into the operation and maintenance work.
Awesome. No, and I think, to resonate on something here, as we kind of wrap up on this panel, it's like the importance of, if those you're seeing, the transition of Web 2 to Web 3. And I think a lot of the people here in the audience, especially if you've known me and Matt and others, we've really been in this intersection, especially championing Web 3. And I think the big takeaway for you, beside building information models and all the different value adds and business cases, is to think about us. Web 2 is where we're giving our data and other people are monetizing it. And Web 3 is we're taking ownership of our data and we're starting to be monetized by it. We're making data an asset class, right? And we're being able to use it. And I think the difference between sort of smart city surveillance state versus the kind of cognitive cities, grassroots, building it from the ground up, Web 3 enablement that we're doing is not just to empower MDC to, for example, better operate their other digital buildings that they have and give them better data into the AI models, but actually empower each individual that collected that data with the digital twin token and validated it with Magma, et cetera, to be rewarded as their asset because they've contributed this data. So it's about empowerment. And on that, we're talking about this next panel, it's just about digital assets, right? How do we really unlock the new economy, which is the data economy, to drive more efficiency for our business perspective, more profitability, more asset value, better coordination, less wasting of time, and then create a new asset class and create more wealth for our community and more empowerment for our community. Last takeaways, guys. If you want to leave the audience with a takeaway on something, maybe Sharon, if you don't mind taking it first, ladies first, on what you want the people to remember about what you're doing at Kila and the digital twins model.
Absolutely. What I would leave with is consider how AI has shifted the game, and we see it in our daily lives already, and how that's going to be part of the transition that you'll see with buildings We already see self-driving cars. We're really here at the brink of the future, and so you've learned a little bit about digital twin technology and AI, and hopefully in your own condominium or apartment or office building or the place where you work, you'll also start seeing these technologies being implemented.
All right, I'll go next. So, I will leave you with this image, I guess. Phil mentioned, imagine in COVID time being able to manage our facilities remotely. So, think about clicking through your web browser on a mechanical equipment, get all the data. If it's on, if it's off, how it's performing. I can see the warranties, the specs, the data sheets, everything in just one click away, even in your phone. So that is happening now. We do have the ability to do that now. There's companies doing that right now. So I believe the whole idea of getting together today is to show you that this is happening. I mean, if, as I mentioned yesterday when we were going over this panel, the train left the station already, so you need to run and catch it because it's already moving. So I'll leave you with that.
Yes.
I'll be more blunt. Either get on the train or get run over by the train. So if I'm going to leave you with one thing, there's people who are builders here or represent builders here. If you're not building on a digital twin, you're not going to be optimizing your building for operations and maintenance because that will be used to run that building and maintain that building at half the cost of a normal thing. So if anybody's building something and not leveraging a digital twin, you're basically horse and buggy. And then for people who are managing buildings or managing a portfolio of buildings, the future is digitize the building, create the sensors, run it off your phone. If you're not doing that and you're spending money, all these buildings are spending money every year, you're throwing things away because you're not going to be able to leverage AI unless it has a digital foundation. That's a very important point.
They're literally throwing it away.
You're literally throwing it. So my point is this, is going to become a digital first future, which means build it digitally before you build it physically, and then a digital first operations and maintenance, which means that you're going to be operating and maintaining your building digitally, not physically in the future. Those buildings are all going to become cognitive. So anybody's representing builders and owners out there, like get on the train.
Right. No, so digital twins, as we said, they are used for construction, so you can save on construction costs because you don't do the mistake in the physical world when you experience it digitally first. Then on operating maintenance, you will save a lot by using digital twin to operate your building. And then the last thing, which is even more important, I think, is that today the rails of the new economy, the rails of finance, are being built on blockchain. And that's the fact of creating digital assets that you can exchange on those rails. And all those what we talked about are going to be used tomorrow to finance buildings. You will be able to plug two solutions on blockchain, and if you can prove what you do with the money, you will be able to finance your building more easily. You will give more transferability and liquidity to your assets. You ever wonder why it takes months to sell a building, where when you sell a stock or a bond, it can take seconds? This doesn't make sense in the day and age of digital twins and blockchain, when you can have a full representation of the asset during all its life cycle, pretty much on a day-to-day valuation basis. So that brings us to, I think, the next panel, which is digital assets, and this is what we want to show today. If you're coming out of this day with something in your mind, is the real breakthrough is the combination of digital twins and digital assets, which then makes way to AI and lots of application and all that. But the combination of the two is very powerful.
But to make it really, really simple for people, the only thing you own on Web 2 is your domain name. Anything you create, you can post it on YouTube, they take it down, send it to Facebook. The Web 2 site is the centralized web, which means you always have to go through an intermediary. The only thing you own is your domain name.
Not even.
On Web 3, this is really important for entrepreneurs out there. Everything you create, you own, which means you could sell it through blockchain. So my point is, and I haven't spoken to this, there's a lot of revenue opportunities once you digitize the asset. Because, for instance, when I was doing my own planning, they were building a big mall and they wanted to understand the flow of traffic, and based on that, just like in the airport, you can determine the rents, where the things are based on the flow of traffic in real time. Remember, it's real time. So my point is, Web3 is the future, not only from a cost perspective and a productivity perspective, but from a revenue perspective too. And I won't talk anymore on it, but.
All right, we'll take some, give a round of applause, please. And we'll take some questions, if anybody has some questions.